So Ted, when I first walked in, what stood out was what you're creating this season. I mean, from the color to the shape. Tell us about what you have going on and the complexity of it, man, because it doesn't look easy.
Listen, we were up till after 1 o'clock this morning creating the shape. And you know, when Carmen, when we had the hair and makeup test, one of the things that he talked about was that it was this tribal, techno-tribal. And I thought, how cool would it be? I mean, with that sound, with that statement, you can't just have hair that's down and romantic. You know what I mean? It has to have some kind of strength to it. So what I decided to do is to do wigs. And when I think about anything that's tribal, I think about, you know, Aztec tribes, I think about Indian tribes. And if you go back in history and look at those tribes, you'll see that this is the kind of shapes that they had. They had these really strong, very, very strong statements in their hair. But we do graduated bobs always in the salon, and we do them in my salons every day, right? But how to take a graduated bob to the next level is by creating this kind of dip dye or this kind of ombre situation. So what we did is we took these wigs, we bleached them out. After bleaching them, we dipped them in black hair color, and then created this amazing graduated shape.
Now, how does that tie in with his collection? I mean, is it going to has a complement? I mean, are we going to see a lot of geometric shapes with his clothing as well? Is it going to tie in?
The whole thing is that it has patterns of geometry, and it has patterns of tribals. So he took all these different tribes and put the patterns in the clothes. So it's very, very strong. It's going to make a huge statement. New York Fashion Week doesn't necessarily, you don't see a lot of this. This is very European in its respect. You don't see a lot of statements with hair in particular in New York City. So it's good.
Carmen, happy Fashion Week.
Happy Fashion Week, thank you.
So, you know, I'm filming with Ted Gibson, and as soon as I walked backstage, the first thing I saw was the hair. I mean, it is stunning. Was that your inspiration, or just say, Ted, take over, man?
You know what, we both, I wanted to do something short. I mean, and basically I said, the silhouette, I'm seeing a bob. I'm drawing everything with a bob. And he was like, no, what's the clothes look like? So we looked at the clothing, so with drop torso, he goes, it's a kind of 20s vibe, but it's a modern 20s vibe, kind of tunic-y, mini. And he goes, that's why the bob works. It definitely works for me. And I said, there's a lot of back interest. And I said, but how are we going to get these girls? So then he said, wig. And I went, wig? Okay, but we have to make it look really cool. So then we kind of threw the different ideas around, and I said, well, last season you added color. It's really graphic. So he was like, what about black tips? I'm like, maybe. And he was like, can you do that? And he goes, yeah. He goes, well, we need good wigs. So I'm like, okay, now how much is that going to cost? So he goes, all right, before we do this, let's do a hair and makeup test. And actually, I met with Ted once before just to say, look, are we crazy? Is this even can we even do this? So we had actually 2 meetings before doing the actual hair and makeup test, because it's complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to have these dyed specially, then they had to cut them. They had to cut some in advance and some on the girls. And I'm like, Ted, you sure you can do this? He goes, trust me, we can do it. But it's amazing, right?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's beautiful. And the one thing I asked him, I said, how is that going to complement your collection? And he said you have a lot of geometric shapes in it, a lot of strong lines, so it goes in perfectly. Tell us about your collection this season.
The collection is kind of techno-tribal, I call it. It's taking tribal motifs and elements, very complex embroideries, either from the Maasai tribe in Africa, from Asia, from Thailand, Native American, but we've rendered them in a monochromatic palette, so it's all black, white, silver. So hence the hair is a perfect voile, strong eye, and that's it. And the shapes are really kind of graphic. It's very modern. We're using a lot of athletic fabrications, so it's a kind of strange juxtaposition of, you know, haute couture fabrication in conjunction with more sportif elements, and then all of these ornate embroideries and leather. So it's sophisticated and edgy at the same time, and I think the hair is the perfect complement.